So, hello Monica. We are today, the two of us sitting there and talking about you and Tom Wesselman. We're just opening an exhibition here at the Almine Rech Avenue Matignon. And this exhibition is Monica with Wesselman. So it's great for us to be able to talk with you, as you have been a model, an assistant, and a very close friend with Tom Wesselman.
I just want to say that I am honored that this exhibition is taking place, and I want to thank Almine Rech for doing this, and to you for interviewing me. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. This is a great opportunity.
Thank you. You describe your relationship with Tom through three different stages: as a model, as an assistant, and as a friend. First you are a model, and then you become an assistant. So when that happened, how?
At the beginning I modeled for Tom for the portrait. Was the first level of my interaction with Tom, and I sat for him a couple of years doing the portrait, which were never very successful. He got a couple good ones. And I'm also a musician, so I went on a tour, musical, and then I took some time off, and when I got back, he said, we got together, and he asked me would I model nude, and I was like, ooh, we became friends. So it was a little bit, and I did it. And then it was very natural. And he knew I was a painter and a musician, and he was too. And so then he asked me to come and be an assistant with him, and it was natural.
So this was around the 80s?
Yeah, it was like 80. I'm never really clear about the exact time, but it was mid-80s. Beginning of the 80s is when I met him, though. I think it was 82 or something. But it continued until the end of his life.
You said that something was in the air in the 80s in New York. Could you tell me more about that? What was in the air, and Tom was looking for a kind of a new start in his work. So, and he met you.
Yes, and of course, this is all in retrospect, you can see this. But at the time, New York was in a lot of, it was very funky. Do you know this word, funky? It was very gritty, very funky, dirty. And it was a really ripe time for artists to be there, very ripe. So, and at the time also, there were a lot of musicians who also made art, who were moving to New York, and that's when I came. We didn't know that something was about to change, but the new wave came. Punk was really big, and pop art, just everything was very alive in New York because it wasn't very commercial, That's what I think was in the air. There was something changing, and Tom was changing, and he was trying to develop a new way. And for some reason, he saw me, and we became friends and started talking about music and art, and he landed on me. But I have a feeling it was because I had that haircut with the fringe, with the bangs, and it was easy for him to make a metal piece, which was one whole piece. It's in the exhibition.
Yes, he just started the laser cut pieces.
He just started to develop the laser cut. It was Tom Wesselman who did, it's everywhere now, but it was Tom Wesselman who sort of developed the laser cut. And yes, so he was just beginning that. He was very excited about it. He wanted a new model. His wife was now raising the children. She was his favorite model.
And where did you meet?
I met him at the Sidney Janis Gallery. The reason we met was because when I moved to New York, my upstairs neighbors, Candy and Alan, Candy Spillner was working for Tom. And they were traveling, and they had money to travel, and I was a poor artist. I said, what can I do? I was painting apartments. I was doing anything. she said, oh, come and meet Tom, you might be able to model for him. And I said, I'm not a Wesselman model, because you have this idea, right? False idea, but you have this idea. And so I went to the opening, and I remember getting off the elevator, and I saw Tom, and I went right over to him. He was so bold. And he sat down like us, and he talked to me, and he brought me around the show, and we made friends right away. And then he asked Candy if I would model for you. You think your friend would model for me, he said. And she said, oh, I know she would. And that's how we met.
And you were talking about music, did you?
Yeah, what do you do? Came here, I'm in a band. At that time, a lot of musicians were painters, like Talking Heads, for example. Yeah, so what kind of music do you do? Oh, I write music too, he said. Oh, what do you do? Country music. I was like, ooh.
Not my style.
Which is funny, because later on I sang many and recorded many of his songs, many. And it was part of my job to do this, so. But we talked about why I moved to New York, and he didn't talk that much about the show or himself. I found him very humble, very familiar, and sweet.
And did you know when you first met him, did you know his work previously? Have you seen any of his paintings? Because he was quite well known. I mean, you must have been very impressed.
You're so young, you know. You're so young. I was impressed, but I was naive. I knew his work. I had lived in Virginia, and there was a big painting in the museum there that I could talk to him about. Hey, I saw this painting. And I thought it was really good. However, it was a much different mentality than my own. So I wasn't threatened. I didn't think to be, oh, he could do that so much better than me or anything like that. I just knew he was somebody famous, and honestly, I didn't think too much about it.
And he didn't behave as someone being famous?
No, not at all. He was very casual. He was nervous even. He was very casual, very down home, we say, you know. So it made me feel very comfortable. And also I liked him right away. He liked me right away. It was familiar. We're from a very similar part of the country. Maybe that's why, you know. Midwest. I'm from Pennsylvania, he's from Ohio. They're very, he had the same accent.
Same accent. So you started as a model, and then you entered in the studio, and at some point became an assistant. I mean, you were taking part of the whole machine. I mean, because the studio is a space for production, and it's also a social space. I mean, there are these two things happening at the same time. Yes. Could you tell me more about the studio, where it was, how many people were working there, how it was working?
That part was very exciting, really, because it was on the Bowery, which was really dirty and kind of scary back then. But there were a lot of artists there and poets, you know, were on that street, and you would have to come through Soho and get to the building, and the building was dilapidated and, you know, dusty old thing, and you go walk through some dank staircase, and it was a walk up. And you walked up, and then, you know, you enter this pristine. It was very clean, but the tables were dirty, everything but the walls, everything was like this. It was pretty spectacular. It smelled very good, like oil paint. It was very active, and it was very still. It was magic, to me. I was like, now what? You know, what do we do? I was just followed his lead. Now sit here, you know, do that.
natural light in the
No, oh no. This is the thing. He had no natural light. It was all controlled.
Okay.
No windows.
No windows.
That was another weird thing. There was this one window that he would open up, and he would to get in, and he would lower down on a fishing pole the key. So right away you loved him. Right away he's clever, funny, very understated. His jokes were very quiet. You know, you had to get them. They weren't ha ha ha. They were witty, very witty. And so was his artwork. You know, after a while you see the humor inside the art. And you go, oh, he's making jokes.
And what was on the walls? There were works he was working on, or works he had previously worked on? What was on the walls? What was standing on the wall?
I just remember very vaguely what was on the wall, because I think that show, when I first went there, was at Sydney Janis Gallery, so there wasn't all that much up, but they were, I think the flat, like panties and with a belt, and I mean, I just remember very clean, those very clean paintings, that period when it was very, not painterly at all, it was clean, and it was, and I just wondered how he did it. And he loved to tell me, oh, this is my poetry. And he told me the poetry inside his paintings. You know, I always have a Venetian blind. I always have flowers. I always have a Kleenex box. So I guess those things were up. I can't remember exactly which ones, but oh. And then he brought me to the back where it was a storage room, and he showed me those little collages were much different, like crazy different. And I fell in love with those. Oh, how did he get from that to that, you know? And that was very intriguing.
Yes.
And he knew I would like them. He knew I was gonna like those because they were messy, and I'm kind of messy, you know.
I guess that he was using a lot of images. And were there any magazines? What kind of images were there? Or maybe he wasn't using any more images at that time?
He wasn't using images from magazines at all. He was making studies, like the one you see in the other room with Fruit, Flowers, and Monica. He was making small Liquitex acrylic studies for something big like this, right? So he was coming from a drawing to turning it into something like this. And there's a small one just like this one that Almine has.
It's really, really weird. When I look at you and I look at the portrait, it's so, I mean, it's...
He caught it.
I can recognize, I mean, it's...
That's so
very
nice.
Well done, huh?
Very well done. I know, I was happy about that.
Yeah. And it's so pop, it's so...
Love it. It is pop.
Yes. So I want to talk a little bit about your experience as a model, your experience of posing. In your essay, you make this interesting comparison with your part as a singer in a band. You say there is a kind of synergy. You are no longer you. The artist and model become collaborators.
There's a distance, right? You have to step out, otherwise you can't do it. You can't do it. You step out, you see it, you become the model. You know, what should I do? How should that look? You know, should I sit like this? Should I? If you were just you, being naked there, it doesn't work.
Yeah, you are using the term supernatural.
Yes, this is true. I mean, maybe I should have said supra, but I mean, it's a kind of feeling that you can escape a little bit yourself, and so that you don't become self-conscious, so that you don't become something Monica, you know, you just become art. You try to become art.
Yes, you are entering another dimension.
Definitely.
Which is art, the art dimension. It's another world.
It's another world, and that synergy, that word, is what I meant. It was like, you're lifted, and it's just you and me, and we're here, and everything else is kind of quiet, and we're going to do this. We're going to do this.
So it was very concentrated, I guess.
Very concentrated, and very close up.
Very close. So he started making drawings.
That's what he did. He started making drawings. That's all he did until he did these. Yeah. These were different. These were straight on, from straight to the canvas. But until this, they were always drawings. And then he would turn them into this kind of thing.
Are you listening to some music?
Well, in the room, okay, so he had a table that he worked on, and this became the model table. And from the table, these two little levers came out, and that he put his drawing board on. So he was an extension of the table, and you're right there. And country music is playing, quietly, but it's playing. And, you know, it's scary at first. You take that robe off or something. But right away you go, we're gonna do something here. And he's very sweet, like, oh, what are you writing about? What was the gig like? Or are you painting now? It would start this way, and then sometimes he would say, good night, because sometimes I would just start to go to sleep. And sometimes we would just get quiet. At one point it got very quiet, and then we were in it. You know, but he started out very casual conversation, but he was interested. He wanted to know.
So you said you were very tired. That means that it was taking quite a long time.
It took, yeah, his whole work day. It was his whole work day. We broke for lunch an hour, and then we started. So it was like, I think it started at 10, and we broke at like 1, and then it was 2 to 6. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of hard work.
Every day?
No, very infrequently. It was not frequent. It was, I can't remember how many times I modeled for him, but he would just call, hey, can you do this? You know, hey, when can you do this? And so I don't know, I really don't know how many times I sat for him, because he would crank out a lot of drawings in one sitting. Many, very quick.
How many?
Yeah, very quick. And the only thing is, he began with a magic marker, you know, that smell of the magic marker. So I'd go, that was kind of hard for me because the smell is so intense.
Yeah.
Then he moved to India ink, so it was like a little bit better. But they were big. There's one downstairs.
Yes, it's beautiful. Yeah, it's really beautiful.
And he made many of those, and quick, you know. And sometimes later he would correct them. So sometimes you'll see a piece that's cut out, and he corrected the face, or he corrected the foot. They're all interesting.
Yes, because obviously he liked the drawings to be very direct. You know, it was very close to you, and the drawing is very direct, just like the transcription or the direct transcription of what he was not seeing but feeling at that very moment.
Yeah, he was breathing it.
It just goes.
Yeah. It was pretty impressive, you know. And he would go fast. Okay, another one. You know, move. You know.
And when you look at the drawing, or if you look at that wonderful picture, you understand that, you know, he has been doing this so many times. He knew your body. He knew your body.
Yes.
Just like in fact, Monica was Monica, but it was also the painting. I mean, it's a dialogue with himself. You were the one person who was through that person, he could be in direct dialogue with his work. You see what I mean? Yeah.
I do see what you mean. This is true, but the interesting thing is, I think there were Okay, so like there was about 10 years between these and like the ones like this. But in the middle of it was another time, because I stopped modeling for him, and like when I started working for him, it was too much. I said, let's stop. And because I was modeling, I was singing his songs, I was being the assistant, I go, enough. So I stopped. But then maybe 4 years into that, he asked me to do this little videotape live from the model. So there is that movie of him drawing me, which is that one downstairs, Monica with Wesselman, that was that. And so I came back, I kept coming back. And then in the 90s, he said, can you come back? And so I did.
And so you love that?
Yeah, I mean, it was meant to be. You know, it was meant to be, and it was comfortable. It's been such a big part of my life.
There is something that you told me that I think is very interesting and nice. You said that he wrote to you in a dedication to his autobiographical book. He said in the dedication he wrote, "You make drawing a less agonizing, cruel, less horrible experience." Isn't it?
He's funny. He's very funny.
So with Monica, it's a less horrible experience because drawing was a horrible experience.
Yes, and he was compelled to do it. When Claire would buy flowers, he'd go, "Oh no, I have to draw them now." Like, oh.
Ah, really?
So he was compelled to do it, but he found it really difficult, you know. But it was less horrible.
Yes, you were talking about his humility. It's very humble to say that.
So humble.
Working for years, and then he said, "Oh,
I know. You got to love him, you know, for this humility and his casualness and his feeling as though we were on the same level, you know. I never thought of myself as being anything but his friend and equal, really. I mean, he was my boss when I was the assistant, and there was a higher, you know, you got to be careful there, but it was sweet. And you asked me, inside that studio were 2 other people at that time.
Yes.
And then for a brief time, he had more. Jeff was working there and Kevin was working. Other people came to help with the additions. That didn't last very long. The 3 main people, Candy Spillner, Alan Rubin, and I, we sort of mimicked his family. He had Jenny, you know, Elaine and Kate, and then there was like the 3 of us who were there. It was like that.
And as an assistant, what were you doing in the studio?
Mixing paint, preparing stuff. Yeah, we were always feeding him paint, you know. And he was funny about that too. "Oh, give me a roach of, you know, brown," or, you know, "Can you make magic green?" Or he had a language and we understood it and we did it, and it was fun. It was easy for me to do that. I liked doing that.
At a certain point, you knew him very well, and when posing, you knew what he was expecting from you.
In a way, it's true. I'm kind of an empathetic person anyway, so I can feel it. So it was helpful. I wanted him to succeed. I wanted to be a good assistant. So I was looking, you know, what do we want to do? What's the good thing? What's the right thing to do here? So it came pretty easily for me. And he was very forgiving, you know. I mean, once I splashed paint on a painting, piece of paper, and I was like, "Tom, you know, look what I did." And he's like, "Oh, that's okay, we'll fix it, you know."
All right.
Oh, I was like, it's the only time. But he was very forgiving. Oh, he's so casual. "Oh, don't worry, you know." But you couldn't be late. That's the thing.
You had to be on time.
That's it.
Because he was ready.
Always ready. Let's do it.
Ready to work.
Yeah, it's time to work. Yeah. We never even really sat down except lunch. And then Candy Spillner instituted a tea time because we were tired. We're always up on our feet. And when I went to work there, he said, you know, we're workaholics here. I was like, okay, I'll be one too.
And do you have any idea of how many works he did with you posing?
Yeah, you know, I was trying to count that once. There's of the different images. I don't know how many major works there are, but there are probably a little over 100 images. And then there are many, at one point there were many prints.
Many.
Yeah, they kept coming out, and yeah, I don't know how many major works there are, but a lot.
This artist was looking for something new in the 80s, and he found Monica. That's it, and you are, you know, it's so for many artists, the encounter of a new model is the start of, it's a new starting point. That's what happened with you.
I had not thought about it except when you said it, and I was like, that's true. That's true. It was like new life.
Yes.
I'm gonna do, and he was so excited.
But you told me that it had to happen. I mean, it was just like it was already written. I mean, just like we had, you had the two of Tom and you had to meet.
In fact, he said this.
He said this, yes. It's very nice.
It's very sweet.
Very sweet.
No, I'm so sad he can't be here.
Thank you, Monica. Thank you so much for this conversation, and I think it's so important that you tell us all that you know about Tom and his paintings and his drawings, because and what happened in the studio. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much too. Thank you so much for asking the right questions, and let's bring Tom, you know, a light.
A light.
Yeah.
Yes.